What is up, everybody? Welcome into the live stream. What an incredible week two. What an ending to the week two of the fantasy football season. I don't really have any material prepared for this live stream. I'm basically just going to be answering all your fantasy football questions for week three of the fantasy football season. We are moving on to week three. If you want to recap week two and ask me anything that you have fantasy football question wise for week two fantasy football, go ahead. We're talking week three. We're talking start sit decisions. So go ahead and hit me with your questions. And we're going to be doing a live Q&A here. So go ahead and ask away all your fantasy football questions. I'll be answering here on the midnight stream, late night edition of Crushing Fantasy Football. Good to have you guys in. And go ahead and ask away. So let's talk about some more players that we have on the rise after tonight's game. I think that despite dropping that pass, Saquon Barkley is on the rise. I mean, if you look at his usage in this offense and you look at the efficiency, this dude is going to be absolutely awesome this season. I think that despite dropping the touchdown pass and falling just short of the goal line on his other touchdown opportunity that he had tonight, Saquon Barkley is going to be absolutely awesome from a season-long perspective. So Saquon Barkley to the moon. He's adding to my moon man list of players that I had yesterday. So we got Saquon Barkley on the rise. Go ahead and ask me all your fantasy football questions, everybody. Blow up the chat, and let's get this going. Midnight edition, Crushing Fantasy Football. Let's go. Ask away all your fantasy football questions. Go ahead and hit me in the chat, and let's get this rolling. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Saquon Barkley to the moon. Just waiting for some people to roll in. Appreciate you guys joining. Ask away fantasy football questions for week three of the fantasy football season. We got Saquon Barkley on the rise. We got Bijan Robinson on the rise. Potential bounce back for the Atlanta Falcons. Look, any fantasy football question you have, go ahead and answer or go ahead and ask me fantasy football questions for week three of the fantasy football season. And I'm here to answer all of your questions in this live Q&A. Welcome into the live stream, everybody. Good to have you guys in, answering all week three fantasy football questions. Recapping week two, we got Saquon Barkley going to the moon. We got an awesome finish to the Monday Night Football game. I hope your fantasy seasons are going well. And we are going to be answering all fantasy football questions regarding week three of the fantasy football season. So go ahead and ask away in the chat. Blow up the chat. Ask as many questions as you want. And we are going to be talking about week three fantasy football, start, sit decisions, waiver wire, trades, everything. So let's get it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. How we doing? That's right, everybody. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. How we doing? How we doing? Welcome into the chat, everybody. Good to see you guys. Welcome into the live stream, Crushing Fantasy Football Midnight Edition. Go ahead and ask away with all your fantasy football questions regarding fantasy football week three. Armando, what is up, my man? How you doing? How's everything going fantasy football-wise for you? We get the W this week or what? Hope things are going well for you guys. Ask away fantasy football questions or just, week three fantasy football questions, week two recap, whatever you guys want to talk about. We're here to talk about it all here in the live stream, so let's get it. I have Rachaad White and Joe Mixon in one league. What are your running back waivers? I'm trying to get Steele or Perine. I kind of prefer Samaje Perine, to be honest with you, just because he's going to have more pass catching upside in the offense. I am going to be doing a waiver wire video this week. I'm actually going to be dropping that tomorrow, so I don't really want to spoil any of my waiver wire pickups right now. So despite the fact that we are doing a live stream and a live Q&A, I'm actually not going to be answering specific waiver wire questions right now because I'm dropping a waiver wire video tomorrow. Not bad. Won all of them, 4 out of 4. That's pretty damn good, my man. I appreciate it. But to answer your question, I would prefer Samaje Perine over Steele. That's just me for now. As far as my other waiver wire pickups at the running back position and at every position, I am going to be dropping a waiver wire video tomorrow. So make sure to tune in for that. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away fantasy football questions. We got week 3 coming up in the fantasy football season. So go ahead and ask away. Blow up the chat. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. And let's get this rolling. Appreciate you guys tuning in. How are we doing today? If you are in the live stream and you haven't already, go ahead and make sure that you like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and go ahead and ask away with as many fantasy football questions as you want for week 3 of the fantasy football season. You can ask an unlimited amount of questions here. I'm going to be answering all fantasy football questions. This is a live Q&A, and so I'm going to be answering any question you want. Anthony Torres, how you doing, buddy? What's going on with Kelsey's role? Kelsey is 97 years old, and I don't know. I don't necessarily think that he's getting aged out of the NFL quite yet. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and chalk it up to just early season flukiness. I mean, Pat Mahomes only had 150 Pat Mahomes only had 150 passing yards in week 2. So we can't really hold Travis Kelce to that high of a standard when really nobody in the offense produced except for Rashee Rice. So I think we're going to have to give Travis Kelce some time. I still think he's going to finish as a top 5 tight end in fantasy this season. We just need the Chiefs offense to get better from an overall point scoring standpoint, which I think is going to happen. Okay, sounds good. The Saints look good this week. I'm thinking of picking up Derek Carr. Do not pick up Derek Carr. I mean, if you look at these games, like, I do recommend playing Saints offensive pieces in your fantasy lineup going forward, but like the Saints scored freaking 44 points this week, and Derek Carr still only had 21 fantasy points. So he's absolutely at his ceiling right now, and that's probably the best performance or one of the best performances you're going to get out of Derek Carr all season long. I really think that he's an overhyped waiver wire pickup right now. I would not pick up Derek Carr off the waivers. I don't think he provides you all that much upside. He got a rushing touchdown in this game. His team scored 44 points, and he still only got 21 fantasy points. I like Derek Carr. He's a good streaming option, but I'm not necessarily getting too excited about him. Should I continue to start Pitts next week? Also have Jags tight end on roster. I don't know, man. I don't like Kyle Pitts. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like Kyle Pitts for the long term. Mainly because I have Chris Olave and for my backup quarterback. Oh, yeah, I mean, now me personally, in a lot of leagues, I don't roster a backup quarterback, so that's why I was thinking you were talking about for your starter. And I understand you're getting the stack, but I don't think that he should be a waiver priority for you. If you catch my waiver wire video tomorrow, I'm going to have some much more important waiver wire pickup targets than Derek Carr for sure. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel already. And ask away with all your fantasy football questions for week 3. Let's blow up this chat and ask as many questions as you possibly can. And let's keep this rolling. Appreciate you guys tuning in. How are we doing today? Thoughts on Kareem Hunt rumors? I don't know. Like, I'm surprised that Kareem Hunt is even contemplating still playing football. It blows my mind. I don't know. Right now, it's just smoke, so we're gonna have to see how it plays out. I don't know, man. I don't really think he actually steps on the field, but we're gonna see. Appreciate you guys tuning in. How are we doing this evening? Welcome into the midnight stream of Crushing Fantasy Football. Go ahead and ask away with all your fantasy football questions in the comments, and I will do my best to get back to every single person that asked me a fantasy football question regarding week 3. So let's get it. Saquon Barkley to the moon, by the way. Saquon Barkley to the moon. This is a game that I think is a floor game for Saquon Barkley. So considering the fact that he still came out and got 18 fantasy points and what looks like it's going to be a floor performance for him. How did Kareem Hunt's career go downhill so fast? I don't know. It just happens with running backs. I mean, how did Austin Eckler's career go down so fast? It looks like Derrick Henry's career is going down fast. It kind of just happens where running backs just hit a wall and then they're just not the same. So I don't know, man. I think he just kind of hit that age cliff where he just didn't have as much juice. Yeah, running backs don't last anymore. They really don't, man. Running backs are just not they're not built to. That's why there's so many split backfields now, because teams are starting to figure out that no matter how good you are, even if you're as good as Bijan Robinson, you operate better in a split backfield because your career can last longer and you stay healthier. Would you do Waddle and Pitts for McBride, Worthy, and Aubrey? We're throwing a kicker in there. He's throwing a kicker in there to give you some extra juice. I like it. Would you do Waddle and Pitts for McBride, Worthy, and Aubrey? Yeah, I would do that. I mean, Jalen Waddle is, first of all, is an overhyped fantasy asset to begin with, and now you don't even know if Tua is ever going to step on the field again. I don't think that Jalen Waddle has all that much upside without Tua Tagovailoa. To me, Pitts, I don't care what he's done recently. I don't care. Kyle Pitts is a 0 to me. I don't really think that the Falcons offense is going to be that good. They look sloppy tonight for most of the game. I'm not that big on Kyle Pitts. I would most definitely take the McBride side of this trade, and I think that Worthy gives you some upside being in the Chiefs offense, catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. And so I would take the trade without Aubrey, but a nice kicker is just a cherry on top. So yes, I would do that trade, XPC. To answer your question. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Welcome into the midnight edition of Crushing Fantasy Football. Go ahead, and if you haven't already, hit the like button on the video. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. What are your thoughts on the 49ers offense with the weapons getting hurt? Well, obviously, we've got a Brandon Ayuk who held out pretty much all of training camp. We now have Deebo Samuel, who's going to be missing multiple weeks. Obviously, we have Christian McCaffrey hurt. There are so many injuries in this offense that I don't know that the offense is going to function as well. Now, Brock Purdy's entire career, it's been said that, he's been so good because of the offensive weapons around him. Now, this is his opportunity to really prove himself. Can he do it without Deebo Samuel? Can he do it without Christian McCaffrey? Can he do it with a Brandon Ayuk who held out of training camp pretty much all offseason? This is going to be a very interesting test to see what Brock Purdy does. And to answer your question, I don't like the offense nearly as much. I don't think I'm going to be betting as heavily on the offense. What are your thoughts on the 49? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to be betting as heavily on the San Francisco offense going forward until some of their weapons start to get healthy. And I think it starts to become a really difficult decision as to whether or not we're going to be starting Brock Purdy on a weekly basis. I mean, he doesn't give you a whole lot of rushing upside, and now a ton of his weapons are hurt. I just don't like Brock Purdy nearly as much with all the injuries. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Welcome into the channel. Welcome into the midnight edition of Crushing Fantasy Football. Go ahead and ask away with all of your comments in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get back to everyone as far as your fantasy football questions for week 3. Blow up the chat, my friends. Ask away. Fantasy football questions, week 3, live Q&A. We're doing it live here with Deebo out, McConkey or Demarcus Robinson, week 3, have PPR. I'm going to be going with Demarcus Robinson. I think I really like his upside. It looks like Kupp's going to miss multiple weeks now. Demarcus Robinson is going to be the wide receiver 1 in the offense, catching passes from Matt Stafford. I love Matt Stafford as a person who can feed a wide receiver 1 and produce awesome fantasy numbers for them. And Demarcus Robinson is now the wide receiver 1 in this offense. I like Demarcus Robinson to have a pretty good outbreak while Cooper Kupp is out. Should I trade JT Mason for CMC Gibbs or JT for Gibbs straight up? Me personally, I would trade Jonathan Taylor for Gibbs straight up. I just like the offense that he's in so much better. But your other option was, should I trade Jonathan Taylor, Mason for CMC, and Gibbs, Or I would just do the JT for Gibbs straight up, bro. I don't want to mess with Jordan Mason right now. I don't want to get rid of him. It looks like Christian McCaffrey could very well be out for the entire season. I mean, he's set to miss 6+ weeks. He's dealing with Achilles tendonitis. This is a lingering injury, guys. This is something that doesn't really just go away. So I'm just not big on picking up Christian McCaffrey right now. Do you think Higgins plays week 3? I think that we do see T. Higgins in week 3, but I've thought that like throughout the season, and like, you know, it's one of those things where I don't know. You know, I'm not 100% sure. I would say it's more likely than not. I hope so for the Bengals' sake. If the Bengals don't start to bounce back and they start 0-3, they're going to be in a world of hurt. Can the Bucs sustain their success on the field and in fantasy? Yeah, I think they can. I mean, look, Baker Mayfield is a quarterback that can be very good in the right system. Okay, and he's in the right system now. He's got 2 very good wide receivers leading his offense. He's got a good pass-catching running back in Rachaad White. Everybody knows I'm not that big on Rachaad White as a rusher, but he is a pretty good pass-catching back. We've got 2 super elite wide receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think that the Bucs can sustain their success, and I hope so because Chris Godwin is my most owned player on Underdog Fantasy. I have a 27% market share of Chris Godwin because I was very hyped about Chris Godwin going into the season, moving back into the slot, and he's seen 8 targets in each of the first 2 games. As long as they keep feeding Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, which they will, the offense should be able to maintain their success. Exactly what I was thinking. Gibbs has the receiving upside. Yeah, Gibbs has the receiving upside, and if you look at last season, David Montgomery started the season red hot. He was looking like he was going to be the lead back in the offense. And then as the season progressed, Jahmyr Gibbs started to get more and more of a role. And that's typically what happens when you have veterans and you have really young players is the veterans kind of start the season as the workhorse. And as they kind of start to wear down, the younger player with the fresher legs kind of comes in and starts to hit the home runs and have the big plays for the offense. And so that's kind of what they're doing with Jahmyr Gibbs. They're easing him into things. They know that a split backfield is the best way to keep your running backs healthy, and they need to keep Jahmyr Gibbs healthy if they want to win a Super Bowl. So right now they're splitting the backfield, but Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a smash play this year. I still think he's going to be one of the best running backs in fantasy, despite the fact that he's had a slightly slow start. I still really like him from a long-term perspective this season, leaning towards Higgins. If he does, he's a must-start at the flex. You talking about Gibbs? Yeah, Gibbs is, of course, a must-start. Appreciate you guys tuning in. File on in, answering all fantasy football questions regarding Week 3. So go ahead and ask away with all your questions in the comments. Would you trade away Ford for Higgins? No, I don't trust T. Higgins to stay healthy all season. And I think that Jerome Ford has some pretty serious fantasy upside. I don't know, man. I know that most people are going to say yes to this because most people would rather have T. Higgins. I would rather have Jerome Ford rest of the season. I don't trust T. Higgins to stay on the field. And I don't like predicting injuries, but T. Higgins has got to be like the most injury-prone wide receiver I've literally ever seen in my life. This dude can't stay on the field. Joe Burrow has injury concerns. I'm not too sold on T. Higgins right now. If Higgins, yeah, I mean, like, I'd say so. Like, if you have Higgins on your roster, you're probably going to, at worst, be playing him in your flex. I mean, I still think that the dude obviously has upside. I'm just so big on Jerome Ford the rest of the season, but if Higgins plays, you're probably going to at least plug him into your flex. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Welcome in. File on in. Welcome into the midnight edition of Crushing Fantasy Football. Ask away all your fantasy football questions regarding Week 3. Let's go. All in one show. Chase for Bijan and Pollard. Jamar Chase for Bijan and Pollard. Need of running backs. This is really close. I mean, here's my problem. They're not really cutting Bijan loose the way they said they were going to do it. I mean, like, obviously his yards per carry efficiency is tremendous. He's by far and away the best weapon in his offense. And if this Falcons offense can really start to find its rhythm, Bijan can be great. But I'm worried about 2 things. I'm worried about the fact that they're not giving him 25 carries a game like he should be getting. I'm also worried about the fact that I think the offense for the Falcons is going to underperform this year. So I'm not as big as on Bijan as everybody else is. Obviously, I am from a talent perspective, but the workload and the overall efficiency of the offense to me is very suspect. So I'm not going to be wanting to trade away Jamar Chase for Bijan Robinson. And Pollard is kind of just that piece that they're throwing in to make the deal look sweeter. I would not do this. I'm going to hold on to Jamar Chase in this situation. You are in need. You have Jacobs, Pacheco, and Ford. Bro, you can just ride Josh Jacobs and Jerome Ford all season. I guarantee it. Obviously, Bijan would be an upgrade from like Jerome Ford significantly, but I'm holding on to Jamar Chase in this situation. Plus, when Mostert comes back, he's going to be money for you. Even if you need running backs, I would not make this trade. I'm holding on to Jamar Chase. I drafted T. Higgins in the 7th round. How can I get rid of him? He's on my bench. I have Ford and Mason in both flex spots. You're talking about getting rid of T. Higgins. I don't know. It's kind of hard to sell T. Higgins right now, bro. I mean, you're going to need him to come back and have a big week before you consider selling. I always recommend selling players on the high, coming off big performances, and not, when they've been like out of the lineup or underperforming. T. Higgins hasn't really done anything this season. He hasn't done anything at all this season, actually. So it's kind of hard to sell on him right now. So I'm going to wait until T. Higgins has a big game, and then you can consider some more options. When you trade Ford and Javonte Williams for Brian Robinson and use my number 1 waiver for steal, would you trade Ford and Javonte Williams for Brian Robinson? Man, Brian Robinson is looking really good. The efficiency is absolutely insane. I think this offense is going to outperform expectations. It's very close on him and Jerome Ford, and Javonte Williams sort of gives you a depth piece. So, no, I would not do this. I do like Brian Robinson rest of season, but to me, him and Jerome Ford are very close. So I'm going to choose to keep my depth and keep Javonte Williams, and I think you should stick with what you have right now. Thoughts on Kyren Williams rest of season? I think that Kyren Williams, as long as Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are out, is going to be absolute money because he is going to see that increased target share as a wide receiver out of the backfield. They might even have him line up and run some routes, considering the fact that they're completely decimated at the wide receiver position. So I think that Kyren Williams, as long as those two guys are out, is going to be absolute money. Obviously, the overall efficiency of the offense gets better once those guys come back, but he is going to lose some significant target share the minute those two come back. So I like him as long as Kupp and Puka are out of the lineup. When both those guys come back, the offense runs through them, though. What's a good running back to go after, and would you start Carr over Hurts? I hope the Carr over Hurts thing is not a joke. There is no way in hell I would ever start Derek Carr over Jalen Hurts. When it comes to what's a good running back to go after, I don't know. I mean, you can still kind of buy low on Jonathan Taylor right now. I think he's a good running back to go after. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a good buy low to go after. Obviously, they've been decent, but they haven't really exploded out of the gate like everybody wanted them to. So I think that two of the best buy lows right now are two running backs that went pretty early in Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. DJ Moore or Drake London rest of season? Neither. Can I pick neither, Ryan? I think they should both be on your bench, but if I absolutely had to pick one, I guess Drake London. I hate both of them. I didn't draft any of them on Underdog Fantasy. I really wish that you didn't have to play either of these guys. Wouldn't Ford lose his value once Chubb comes back? Yeah, but is Chubb ever going to be healthy again? Yeah, Jerome Ford definitely loses some value when Nick Chubb comes back. But is Nick Chubb going to be able to step back onto the field and actually be 100%? Is he going to have any burst? Is he going to have anything left? He suffered one of the most devastating leg injuries I've ever seen in my life. So I'm not 100% sure that Chubb's going to actually be able to get on the field this year. It could be one of those things that lingers all season and he never really gets back to form. Sorry, off waivers. What's a good running back to go after? Oh, I thought you meant in the trade market. And would you start? Okay. Rate my lineup, PM. Hall, Kyren, Rice, Neighbors, Kincaid, Ford, Mason. You've got a stacked team there, my friend. I like that team. I'll give it a 7.9 out of 10. Yeah, I give it a 7.9 out of 10. It's a pretty damn good lineup. 7.9 being a very good rating. I mean, obviously a 10 is a perfect team, so 5 is an average team. Your team's a 7.9. Thoughts on Kincaid rest of the season? I think that Dalton Kincaid is going to bounce back. I still think that he's going to be awesome for the rest of the year. This is a guy who has tremendous talent. He was obviously drawing comparisons to Travis Kelce coming into the league. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in Josh Allen to throw him the ball. And I don't think that Khalil Shakir is just going to absolutely be the guy in this offense. I know a lot of people are thinking about, what happened last week or this past week, and it looks like Khalil Shakir is going to be the guy. I don't really necessarily think that's the case. I still think that Dalton Kincaid is going to be the main pass catcher and the focal point of this offense. So I think Dalton Kincaid is a great buy low right now, and I think he's going to bounce back in a significant way. Trade Dowdle for Corum if you're a Kyren owner. I'm not too big on either player. I think that having the cuff, if you're a Kyren owner, is important. In a vacuum, I wouldn't necessarily do this, But if you are a Kyren owner, yes, I would go ahead and trade for Blake Corum. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for coming into the midnight edition of Crushing Fantasy Football. Blow up the chat. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. We are doing it live here. And would you drop Brandin Cooks for Quentin Johnson or Alec Pierce? Absolutely not. I think that both Quentin Johnson and Alec Pierce are absolute fool's gold right now. Obviously, they've had good production in the first few weeks of the season, but Alec Pierce will for sure fall off. And there's a small chance that Quentin Johnson has a good season, but I don't even think he's a wide receiver one in his offense. And Brandin Cooks is in what could be a top 6 or 7 overall offense in the NFL. So I'm going to be keeping Brandin Cooks. Love that bounce back game from London. I mean, I guess it was a bounce back game from London. He got a lot of his production at the very last second. I still don't really think that he has a very good connection with Kirk Cousins. Obviously, they got it together at the very end of the game, but man, I'm not too big on Drake London rest of the season, to be honest with you. Also have T. Higgins. Also have Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Trey Benson, Corum, Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell. Thanks for the rating. Yeah, no problem, my friend. Need your help, bro. How do I combat this Pacheco injury? This Pacheco injury is absolutely devastating because if you drafted Isaiah Pacheco, this is obviously a guy that you got in he was starting to go in round 2 of underdog drafts. He was starting to go in round 2 of ESPN draft. I thought that he was being a little bit overdrafted to begin with, but the injury is absolutely brutal. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to sell either some depth off your roster or a wide receiver for a running back that's slightly underperformed this year, somebody like Jonathan Taylor or Jahmyr Gibbs. He was playing amazing too, man. Yeah, we expected Pacheco to be pretty good. I still think that he was a little bit overdrafted, but it's absolutely brutal, the injury. I wish the guy could stay on the field. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm doing my waiver wire video tomorrow. We're going to be blowing this channel up this year. I'm going to be live streaming a ton, so make sure you don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button. Thoughts on Brandin Cooks laying an egg? I don't know. Look, it's the Cowboys offense. It's still projected to be one of the better offenses in the NFL, and I still think that Brandin Cooks has some pretty good value for the rest of the season. It's just 1 week. I don't want to think too much into it. Thanks for coming in, guys. Ask away fantasy football questions for week 3. Carson Steele worth number 1 on waivers or save it. That's really close. I think if you're in need of running backs, you're absolutely going to be playing him this week, go ahead and pick up Carson Steele. If you're not going to be plugging him into your lineup immediately, I would just go ahead and save it. I don't really think he's anybody to get excited about. He doesn't really have the explosiveness to come out and do what Isaiah Pacheco did, and they're probably going to use him in a different kind of role than they use Isaiah Pacheco, so it's not like it's a straight-up one-for-one replacement with him and Pacheco. So I'm not too excited about Carson Steele off the waiver wire. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Don't miss out on this fantasy football content that I'm going to be putting out all season long. Yeah. Ask away, everybody. Fantasy football questions. Week 3. How we doing this year? How we doing tonight? Should I keep Ford in the lineup moving forward? I mean, yeah, I think he's good enough to be a flex play moving forward. The Browns offense obviously has to get it together at some point for us to be excited about starting anybody. By the way, I think Amari Cooper is actually a decent buy low right now, despite the fact that he's been absolutely terrible to start the season. But if the Browns get it together whatsoever, Ford could be an absolute beast. I think we're going to keep him in the lineup going forward, probably as a flex play and not as your running back 2. You want to have a stronger option at your running back 2 position, but Ford is a good flex play going forward. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. I see a good amount of you in here, but only 2 likes on the video, so go ahead and make sure to hit that like button. It's incredibly important to me getting my video out to everybody, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Should I keep that's tough. I would not keep him in the lineup over Tank Dell. I know that he's been more productive in the young season, and Tank Dell has not been productive at all. But let's keep in mind that last year, if you look at the way the season started for the Houston Texans, Nico Collins was the guy right out of the gate, right? And then what happened as the season went along? Tank Dell started to get integrated into the offense, and once he got used to NFL game speed, he really stepped up, and it was looking like he was going to be the wide receiver one in the offense before he went down with his injury. I think that Tank Dell still holds similar value to Nico Collins, and right now, would you play Jerome Ford over Nico Collins? Absolutely not. And I think that Tank Dell is still going to have weeks where he outperforms Nico. So I am going to be playing Tank Dell without question over Jerome Ford. Hunter Henry or Parkinson. Hunter Henry by a mile. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't liked the video already, make sure to hit the like button. Started Ford for the first 2 weeks. Okay, thanks. Yeah, we're definitely going to be playing Tank Dell over Jerome Ford. If you guys haven't already, make sure to ask me all your fantasy football questions. Blow up the chat. Don't be shy to ask. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. Ford or Jameson Williams at the flex for week 3. It's hard for me to tell anybody not to start Jameson Williams right now, so I'm going to go ahead and say hit the Jameson Williams button. We're going to be playing him at the flex. I can't tell anybody to bench JMO right now. The dude's just way too hot. Pause. Who are your top waiver pickups this week? I'm going to be doing a waiver wire video tomorrow, Ryan, so I don't really want to spoil everyone that I have on the waiver wire tonight. I am going to be answering pretty much all fantasy football questions, but I don't really want to talk about my waiver pickups because I'm going to be dropping that video tomorrow. So make sure to tune in tomorrow for my waiver wire video that I'm going to be dropping. I'm going to be talking about players at every single position. Josh Downs or Adonai Mitchell rest of the season. Probably AD Mitchell, bro. Probably AD Mitchell. No worries. I'll be waiting for your video. Yeah, Ryan, you know I got you, bro. Josh Downs or AD Mitchell. Yeah, probably AD Mitchell. Appreciate you guys coming into the live stream. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. It's incredibly important that you guys subscribe to the channel. I guarantee you I will be providing value all season long, so make sure to subscribe, and I will return the favor for you by giving you league-winning advice this season. Should I keep Keon Coleman? Yes, you should keep Keon Coleman. I still think that he's going to be an integral part of the Buffalo Bills offense. If you look at week 1, the dude did lead the team in targets as a rookie in his very first game. He's just coming off, obviously, a game where he didn't get targeted. He got shut down. He just wasn't open. Josh Allen wasn't able to get him the ball. But I still think that Keon Coleman is going to be the next biggest pass catcher in this offense behind Dalton Kincaid. I actually think that despite what we saw this week, Khalil Shakir is the third priority in the offense. Iosivas or Alec Pierce? Oh, Iosivas by a million miles, bro. We don't know that T. Higgins is going to be able to stay on the field. We don't know that this dude can ever stay on the field because his name is T. Higgins. And I think that Alec Pierce's production so far is a little bit fluky. Anthony Richardson's arm accuracy really isn't all that great. Thoughts on the Bengals backfield? I don't know. I have some thoughts on the Bengals backfield. I mean, obviously it looks like Zach Moss is kind of the guy right now, but I like Chase Brown as kind of a gadget player. He's kind of somebody who could be used in multiple facets. He could be used as a back. He could be used as a pass catcher. So I like both backs rest of the season to a degree, but I don't think that I don't like dropping Chase Brown. I really don't. I still think that he's going to break out. We kind of saw this last year, right? He didn't really come on until late in the season. I know that he's not really providing a whole lot of value right now. So if you're in a league where your team is absolutely stacked and you have an absolutely stacked bench, I guess I understand it. But for the most part, and in most league formats and most league sizes, I actually want to hold on to Chase Brown and wait for him to produce because I do think he's going to break out at some point. The Bengals offense has been a disappointment. You have to keep that in mind that the Bengals offense has underperformed drastically so far. They're going to have to make some changes. And I think that getting Chase Brown involved in the offense is going to be something that they have to do. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Go ahead and drop a like on the video. Ask away with all your fantasy football questions. Thoughts on the Broncos backfield? I think the Broncos are probably going to be the worst offense in the NFL this year. So it's really hard to say that anybody on the Broncos is a viable starting option. So when you really look at it, I hate the Broncos backfield because I hate the Broncos offense. And I don't want to start anyone on the Broncos really at any position. Anthony Richardson accuracy is obviously suspect. Is he still an elite quarterback due to his running? Yeah, I mean, I would say that Anthony Richardson is a borderline elite fantasy option because pretty much any quarterback that has rushing upside gives some pretty good fantasy value. I mean, Justin Fields on the Bears years ago is a perfect example. I don't know, man. Anthony Richardson just absolutely sucks at passing. So I would say that he's a borderline elite fantasy option due to his rushing upside and the fact that he's probably going to get you a lot of rushing touchdowns this year. But I don't know, man. The dude just cannot pass the ball. It's pretty sad. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ryan. We got Ryan in here and we got Ryan. This is cool. Thanks for your thoughts. Do you value Collins or CD more in the 12-team PPR? Further, thoughts on Kyren for Collins and thoughts on Kyren for Collins or CD? I very much prefer CD Lamb to Nico Collins rest of the season. Nico Collins has been absolutely awesome so far, but he's still in a very crowded wide receiver room. And like I've been telling people, I still think that Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs are going to see weeks where they're the number one wide receiver in their offense, whereas CD Lamb is the bona fide 100% starter in his offense and number one wide receiver in his offense. So I prefer CD Lamb over Nico Collins. And if you were to trade Kyren Williams for CD Lamb, you are getting an absolute steal, my friend. Braylon Allen, Trey Benson, Corum, Chase Brown. Which running back would you keep the most? Thoughts on Dowdle taking over the backfield? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. Braylon Allen, Trey Benson. I think we're going to be going with Braylon Allen here. I mean, the dude obviously came out and had 2 touchdowns. I still think that, Breece Hall is going to be a 3-down workhorse this year, but Braylon Allen is certainly looking like he's going to be involved in the offense. Obviously, he had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown and really cut into Breece Hall's production this past week, and it's looking like he's going to be an integral part of the offense. Thoughts of Dowdle taking over the backfield? I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of the Cowboys' backfield. They're so incredibly unpredictable. They have like 6 freaking running backs, and I don't know, man. I don't think that Dowdle holds all that much fantasy value. I just don't think he's that good of a player, to be honest with you. Appreciate you guys. Ask away fantasy football questions. Super chats are appreciated. If you want to help out the channel, drop some love, drop a super chat, and I'll answer your question. But I'll answer your question either way. I'm going to be answering all questions in this fantasy football Q&A for week 3. So go ahead and ask away. Blow up the chat, and let's keep this rolling. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And appreciate you guys hitting the like button. Let's get as many likes and subscribers out of this video as we possibly can. I'm trying to hit 1,300 subs. I'm at like 1,250 something right now. So if we can get close to 1,300 subs within the next week or so, that would be nice. No, I would not drop Jalen Wright for Carson Steele. I understand that Carson Steele is going to be stepping up and having a role in his offense, but as long as Raheem Mostert is on and off the field with injuries, I think that Jalen Wright is a potential league-winning player, so I will absolutely not be dropping Jalen Wright for Carson Steele. No chance. Obviously, we want to see him get a little bit more usage because, A-Chain is – man, he's the man right now, but I still think that Jalen Wright, as the season progresses, could end up being heavily involved in the offense as long as Raheem Mostert is not able to return to the field. And we know how injury-prone Raheem Mostert is. He could be on and off the field all season long with a lingering injury. So I think that Jalen Wright actually has league-winning upside. Appreciate you guys. File on in. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. Blow up the chat, and let's keep this rolling. How we doing tonight, everybody? If Jefferson is out, thoughts on Naylor? It's tough, man. Like, I don't know. Obviously, he produced this past week, but I don't know, man. I'm just not sold on the Vikings offense being good whatsoever with no Jordan Addison and no Justin Jefferson. Like, how is this offense going to function? I mean, I just don't think that he has any overall touchdown upside because, well, I just don't think the offense is going to be very good. Now, if you're in a pinch, you could certainly use him as a flex option because he is going to be getting a lot of targets, and he has the upside to have 10 targets a week as long as both of these wide receivers are out, but I don't think he has any touchdown upside. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thoughts on McLaurin? Will it get better? We have been asking this question with Terry McLaurin for a very long time in fantasy. And a fun fact, Terry McLaurin has never finished as a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy points per game in his entire career. So at what point are we going to jump ship on Terry McLaurin and just say that he is not him from a fantasy perspective? Obviously, he's him from a talent perspective. You could watch the dude play, but sometimes players just don't pan out in fantasy, even talented players. And I'm starting to think that Terry McLaurin is just that guy that is just never going to be an elite fantasy asset. Braylon Allen should be my top priority as a Hall owner. Yes, I 100% agree with you, Jay Moore. I would go ahead and pick up Braylon Allen as soon as you possibly can. And if he continues to get used the way he has, I mean, you can see a scenario where you literally play both Breece Hall and Braylon Allen in the same week. I mean, if they're both going to be producing, you can't do that. I don't think that's going to be a viable strategy going forward, but I think it is a possibility, and you certainly could use him as a handcuff. Appreciate you guys following on in. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ask away with all your fantasy football questions. I'm here to answer, and we're here to win leagues this season at Crushing Fantasy Football. So let's blow up the chat. Help me grow my channel. Hit the like button, subscribe. Let's go. Ask as many questions as you want, guys. No limit. If Daniels is a top 5 quarterback overall, who's he throwing to if not McLaurin? Well, I mean, he will be throwing to McLaurin, and Jaden Daniels does have the upside to be a top 5 overall quarterback. It's just, I don't know, man. Ben Sinnott? No, I'm just playing. Look, if Jaden Daniels comes out and is a top 5 quarterback this year in fantasy, Terry McLaurin will obviously have a good season. Rate my other team. PM, Bijan, JT, Rice, Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Pitts. Okay, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Rashee Rice, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. It's another good team, man. It's probably pretty similar to your last team. I mean, obviously you've got an elite quarterback, even though he doesn't have as much rushing upside as we would like him to have. Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, you're absolutely stacked at the running back position, but I don't think that you have an elite running back room as much as if you had somebody that was getting a guaranteed 20 to 25 carries a game, somebody like Saquon Barkley. Bijan Robinson and JT is very solid, though. Rashee Rice, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., probably a 7.5. Appreciate you guys. File on in. Ask away with all your fantasy football questions. Blow up the chat, and let's keep this rolling. Help me grow my channel. Subscribe to the channel if you're in here and you're watching the video and you want my waiver wire advice, my rankings on a weekly basis that I do via live stream. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm doing rankings every single week at the running back and wide receiver position, and we're doing it live so you guys can interact with me while I do my wide receiver and running back rankings. Traded DK and Brian Thomas Jr. for Marvin Harrison Jr., also looking to trade Jonathan Taylor for Gibbs. I absolutely love the fact that you picked up Marvin Harrison Jr., my man. I think he was a great pickup. Good job on that. I think you smashed as far as that's concerned. Also, you want to trade JT for Gibbs. I like trading JT for Gibbs. I think that Gibbs has exponentially higher upside. Being in an offense is projected to be a top 5 overall offense this season, and Gibbs tends to get going as the season rolls along. We saw that last year. David Montgomery is going to wear down the defenses. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to come in to get around, get on the edge, and make the explosive plays. I like Jahmyr Gibbs rest of season, and I think that's a good trade. Appreciate you guys. File on in. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's keep this rolling. Ask away fantasy football questions. Super chats are very much appreciated. If you want to help the channel and you want to help me keep doing my live stream, go ahead and drop a super chat. Help support the channel, and let's keep this rolling. Braylon Allen should be my top priority. Yeah. Ask away, guys. Unlimited amount of fantasy football questions. How are we doing this evening? How are we doing this morning, I guess? I don't know. I'm in Texas, so it's morning now, but I'm enjoying doing these midnight live streams. I'm going to be doing these live streams all season, guys. I'm going to be doing these live streams all season long, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing my running back and wide receiver rankings every single week via live stream. It's going to be a blast. I'm going to be helping you guys win leagues this year, so just do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. That's all I ask. Ask away, everybody. Fantasy football questions, week 3. Start 3. Rice, Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., or Mason. You absolutely have to start Marvin Harrison Jr. You absolutely have to start Rashee Rice, and you absolutely have to start Mason. Pretty easy decision for me here. I'm going to be benching Malik Nabers. File on in, everybody. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Help my channel grow. Drop me a super chat. Help support the channel so I can continue to do my live streams and ask away with as many fantasy football questions as you want. I appreciate you guys very much, and I'm glad to have you guys in. Christ saves. I like your name, my man. Christ does save. Amen. I am very thin at running back in my 16-team PPR 1 flex. I have DK Marvin Harrison Jr. and Drake London as my wide receiver 1, 2, and flex. What do you think about trading Mark Andrews and Drake London for Trey McBride and Jonathan Taylor? If you can trade Mark Andrews and Drake London for Trey McBride and Jonathan Taylor, you need to do that immediately. I mean, you are absolutely smashing that trade. That trade is so good, it's almost veto material. So I would go ahead and do that as soon as you possibly can. I really like Nabers. That's a tough decision, but Marvin Harrison Jr. has a better offense. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an easy decision for me over Malik Nabers. Now, obviously, Malik Nabers came out and had a ton of targets this week, but at the end of the day, we have a slightly better receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. and what's a significantly better offense. And it was looking like Marvin Harrison Jr. could have had like 4 touchdowns this past week. The dude absolutely went off. And the fact that he only had 20 is a fluke. The dude very well could have had 40-plus fantasy points, and then you would not even be considering benching him. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a must-start player going forward. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you would like. Help the channel grow. If you are somebody who consistently watches my channel and you enjoy my content and you think that I help you win in fantasy football, make sure to hit that subscribe button and help my channel grow. Appreciate you guys filing on in. Come on in, drop your fantasy football questions in the live chat, and let's keep this live chat rolling. Super chat to help support the channel, and make sure to ask me as many fantasy football questions as you want. So who would you bench if I'm able to sell Nabers for Chase? Rice, Chase. Man, this is a really tough question. So you're talking about hypothetically having Chase. You're talking about having Marvin Harrison Jr. You're talking about having Mason, and you're talking about having Rice. It's incredibly hard to bench any of these players, but you still have to start Jamar Chase. He's an absolutely must-start player. Given the inherent weekly ceiling, you have to start Marvin Harrison Jr., and you have to start Jordan Mason. So as much as it sucks, you have to bench Rashee Rice here, which is just absolutely terrible. I hate benching Rashee Rice. Your lineup would be too stacked, and you would have a good problem if you had to make this decision. But my God, it's hard for me to, in good conscience, tell you to bench any one of those players. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with your fantasy football questions in the chat. Make sure to like the video if you haven't already. I see we have some people in here who haven't liked the video. Make sure to hit that like button. Ask away with your fantasy football questions in the chat. And let's get it. How we doing this evening, this morning? Wherever you're at, it's either evening or morning, but how we doing? How we doing? Doing good, I hope. Ask away with all your fantasy football questions, everybody. We're doing it live here. If you are new to my channel and you haven't seen any of my videos already, I'm going to be doing wide receiver rankings and running back rankings every single week via live stream. To be fair, for the original trade, I'm also trading Khalil Shakir and Justin Fields. But on my bench, do I pay attention to matchups each week? Absolutely. Matchups are everything in fantasy. If you're not paying attention to matchups, you're giving yourself a massive disadvantage. In fact, of course, yeah, you've got to pay attention to matchups. To be fair, the original trade, I'm also trading Khalil Shakir and Justin Fields, but both are on my bench. To be fair, for the original trade, I'm also trading Khalil Shakir and Justin Fields, but both are on my bench. Well, yeah, Khalil Shakir and Justin Fields aren't viable starting options right now. I know that Khalil Shakir is starting to look like he could be the main target hog in Buffalo, but I still don't think he's a player that you could really find a way into your starting lineup right now. And obviously, Justin Fields is playing in an offense that just doesn't score a whole lot of points. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep asking away. Let's keep this chat section rolling. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. We got a handful of people in here, and I am enjoying doing these live streams. Keep in mind, I'm going to be live streaming all season long. So if you want to be a part of this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Marvin Harrison Jr. has 3 great matchups moving forward. Marvin Harrison Jr. is matchup proof anyway. Obviously, matchups are important in fantasy, like I said, but I am going to be starting Marvin Harrison Jr. every single week going forward, regardless of the matchup. And I said that after week 1. I'm not just saying that because of what he did this past week, although that definitely helps. I was telling everyone to buy low on Marvin Harrison Jr. after he came out and had a terrible week 1. What is up, Ever? How you doing, my friend? Sorry for the beatdown in fantasy, but I appreciate your valiant effort, and I hope you bounce back, my friend. How are we doing? Yeah, I know it's not even fair. Like, anybody that played against Alvin Kamara this week pretty much lost. I mean, the dude comes out and puts up 44 fantasy points. If you played against Alvin Kamara, RIP. If you played against Alvin Kamara and somehow won, let me know, because that's absolutely amazing. Thanks. I feel really good about Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of season is going to be an absolute monster, bro. He's going to be an absolute beast. He is a massive league-winning player. I mean, he was very close to having 4 touchdowns in this past game. Very close. I tried to give a 2-for-1 when I traded him DK and Brian Thomas for Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, I mean, did that work out? Did he reject the trade or what? FBU, what is up, my man? Kels22 in the house. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. What's your thoughts on Kansas City backfield? Would you grab Kareem Hunt or JSN if they are on the waiver wire with the #1 priority? I am absolutely grabbing JSN with the #1 waiver wire pick over Kareem Hunt. No doubt about it. I traded in one league my Debo for Marvin Harrison, and I am so excited now. Great sell high on Debo. Great buy low on Marvin Harrison Jr. Even with Debo Samuel being hurt, even with Debo Samuel's production so far being very good, I still think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a better play rest of season. He accepted it, bro. Good job, Jay Moore. You fleeced him. You fleeced him. Everdale La Jolla, but I still lost. It's okay, man. I mean, look, it's early in the season. I'm pretty sure you're 1-1, and you have plenty of time to bounce back. Like I said, I mean, you played against Alvin Kamara this week. What are you supposed to do? I also have Nico and J-Mo already. Yeah, Kels22, I know you have Nico and J-Mo because you like to rub it in that you were right on them and that I was a little bit too low on them early in the season. What's up? Jay Moore sent that offer Sunday. He accepted it. Good job. What's up with Joe Mixon? To be honest with you, I don't know the extent of the Joe Mixon injury. If anybody in the chat knows the extent of the Joe Mixon injury, can you please let us know? Appreciate you guys tuning in, answering all fantasy football questions regarding Week 3 fantasy football. Drop your fantasy football questions in the chat, and let's keep this chat section rolling. If you want to support the channel, and if you find my content enjoyable, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would now have Nico J-Mo with Godwin on the way since I traded him for Minshew. Wait a minute. I would now have Nico J-Mo with Godwin on the way since I traded him for Minshew. Wait, who did you trade for Minshew? I'm confused about this. You traded Godwin for Minshew? I would now have Nico with – I don't know, but your wide receiver room's absolutely stacked if you have Nico J-Mo, and Chris Godwin. Appreciate you guys tuning into the live stream. Make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. If you find my content enjoyable, make sure to blow up the comment section so we can keep this chat going. And if you want a super chat to support the channel, go ahead. But go ahead and ask away with all your fantasy football questions. I'm answering all fantasy football questions here. We're doing it live. Who's your favorite kicker in fantasy? Brandon Aubrey is by far and away my favorite kicker in fantasy. Thoughts on Steele? I got the #1 waiver in the league, but he feels like a trap. I need a running back, though. If you are in absolute need of a running back, get Steele. Get him. But this is only if you are in need of a running back. If you have better options, I recommend better options because it's not like he's going to be utilized like Isaiah Pacheco anyway. Make sure to hit that like button, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Kicker of the year is Fairbairn easily. Kicker of the year is Fairbairn right now. I'm going to go with Fairbairn, Justin Tucker, and Brandon Aubrey. Despite the fact that the Ravens offense has been a little bit of a disappointment, I'm still taking Justin Tucker as an elite fantasy kicker, and I'm obviously taking Fairbairn and obviously taking Brandon Aubrey as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with all your fantasy football questions in the chat. Let's blow up this chat section. If you want to help me grow my channel, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying my content. I'm going to be doing running back and wide receiver rankings every single week via the live stream. Ask away, everybody. Fantasy football questions, week 3. Texans kicker over Butker. Yes, 100%. We're taking Fairbairn over Butker without a doubt. The Houston Texans offense is still probably the best, most loaded offense in the entire NFL. You obviously want to take kickers that play in good offenses. So, yeah. Where's the guy who said, here, Quentin Johnson breakout season? He was – look, I am not sold on Quentin Johnson having a breakout season yet. Now, one of my best friends that got me into fantasy told me this year that he drafted a ton of Quentin Johnson on Underdog, and I actually laughed at him because I thought that Quentin Johnson was for sure an NFL bust. It's certainly looking like he could have a good season. I'm not 100% sold yet. I think it's early season flukiness, but Quentin Johnston, you're right. He might be onto something. He could have a good season. It's starting to kind of look like it. Should I do this trade? Waddle plus Godwin for Garrett Wilson and McLaurin? Absolutely not. Chris Godwin is not tradable right now. As long as he's getting 8 targets a game in the Bucs offense, I am not going to be trading Garrett Wilson. And Jalen Waddle still holds some value too, so I'm not going to be trading those two for Wilson and McLaurin. Should I drop Butker, have both? Oh my gosh, bro. Do not roster 2 kickers. Please, for the love of God, do not roster 2 kickers. Recon XB, hey, what is up, my man? Welcome into the chat. Appreciate you guys joining. Blow up the chat. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. We're doing it live here. Also, I was 50-50 between Akins and Hunter Henry, and guess who made the wrong decision? Well, it's easy to do, my man. Hunter Henry had himself quite the week. Brad, Zay Kamara for JT Walker, Mooney, PPR. Zay Kamara for JT, Kenneth Walker, and Mooney, PPR, got left. I don't know what got left means, but if you're talking about trading Zay and Kamara for JT, Kenneth Walker, and Mooney, don't do it. Alvin Kamara is absolutely and utterly untradeable right now. With the coaching staff changes that we see in New Orleans, they are using Alvin Kamara, and they're not taking him off the field whatsoever. This dude is going to be an absolute fantasy monster this year. It looks like he's still got juice, and he's doing this without having yet seen his pass-catching ceiling. We haven't even seen Alvin Kamara come out and get 9-10 targets a game like he very well could in this offense, and he's already tearing it up just with his rushing abilities. Alvin Kamara to the freaking moon. You do not want to trade this guy right now. I don't care how good he is. I don't care who you get for him. You're holding on to Alvin Kamara for now. I got Zay and Kamara. Good. Pranav, what if I did Waddle plus Godwin plus Jordan Mason for Garrett Wilson, Zay, Shakir? Waddle, oh, absolutely not, Pranav. Absolutely not. You're giving up way too much right now in that trade. I'm also perma-starting Shaheed. Tired of Kirk as of now. I don't blame you. If you wanted to start Shaheed ahead of Kirk, I get it, but to me, it's still a very close play. I have Josh Allen, Kyron, Saquon, Zay Flowers, Pickens, Laporta, Keon Coleman was let down this week massively. I have been in a blunder this week. Sorry about that, Recon. I really very much hope that you bounce back for your sake. It's okay. I mean, these things happen. Saquon was very close to having himself a big game. Or I'll sell Shaheed for Amari. If you can sell Shaheed for Amari Cooper, you need to do that immediately. Now, everybody is going to come out and tell you, hey, oh my gosh, have you seen the first 2 weeks of the season? Have you been watching football? Amari Cooper's been absolute trash. Rashid Shaheed's been money. Look at the difference in the offenses. I don't give a damn. Amari Cooper is so much better than Rashid Shaheed for fantasy purpose from a season-long perspective that I'm willing to put my reputation on the line for it. You could come back at the end of the season and you tell me who has a better wide receiver season between Amari Cooper and Rashid Shaheed. It's going to be Amari Cooper. And if you can make that trade, you need to go ahead and do it. Should I roster back up for Mahomes or just stream one for buy replacement? I don't know. I am a person who typically streams quarterbacks. Now, it depends what kind of quarterback option you can get off the waiver wire. If you're in a more shallow league and you can get somebody really good, then maybe you roster 2 quarterbacks. But in a more normal league setting, I'm just going to be streaming a quarterback. I'm just thinking if Chris Godwin can keep this up for the rest of the season. I like that he's playing in the slot for the season. He is eating, but I'm not sure what to do, especially with Waddle and the Tua injury. Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to trade Chris Godwin right now. This dude's absolutely dominant out of the slot. Let's look back to the 2019 season. Last time Chris Godwin was really – well, he's played in the slot since then, but we know – what I'm saying is this dude has had a top two overall wide receiver season under his belt. This dude does have that kind of upside. Make no mistake, Chris Godwin could be a top 5 overall fantasy wide receiver this year. He's got that kind of upside, so I don't think we're trading him right now. I don't know what to do with myself. I literally dropped 163 last game with the same team and dropped 89 this week. I have Christian Kirk and Palmer on my bench as well. I don't know. I'm panicking right now. Look, fantasy football is a game of variance, my friend. There's going to be weeks where you score 180 points. There's going to be weeks where you score 90 points. You don't want to let your emotions influence your decisions too much. So just ride the bad weeks and don't make any drastic decisions on selling players just because of having one bad week. Thoughts on Caleb Williams? I think that Caleb Williams is absolute trash. I think he's going to be an NFL bust. Yo, what a game tonight. Frizzle in the house. Good to see you, my man. Yeah, that game was absolutely awesome. That was fun, that last scoring drive. I mean, we definitely were given a treat for Monday Night Football tonight. I absolutely thought that the Eagles were going to win this game, but the Falcons come back and they do it all at the last second, and it was very good to see. Guys, if you are in here and you haven't hit the like button already, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. On the 8-teamer, my team looking bad now. Look, man, it is so incredibly early. Mr. De La Hoya, I really wouldn't worry about it yet. I think you could bounce back. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Bro, if you have Marvin Harrison Jr., that dude could carry your team all season long. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away fantasy football questions. Who would you pick up on waiver wire? Oh, in another league. I got you. Who would you pick up on waiver wire? You see my bench. What should I do with Waddle? Good question, Pranav. Right now, I think that Jalen Waddle is a hold. I really don't think that you can get that much for him. But what I would try to do is try to sell him based on the name, based on the talent, based on the hype. Right now, you still might be able to get something for Jalen Waddle. But if it continues to be something where Tua just never sees the field again and never comes back and plays, Jalen Waddle could be in for a world of hurt. And so I would try to sell him right now. But make sure that you get something good because the name value still holds some sort of value in people's eyes. If that Bills game was not a blowout, my team would have ran the wheels out of my guy. I'm getting clowned in my league for dropping sub 90. How you feel about Laporta? Because I'm shaking with him giving me. Yeah, it absolutely sucks that Sam Laporta has been a little bit of a disappointment so far. But if you look at it, like, I think this is just because of the increased target share for Jameson Williams. And all Jameson Williams is going to do is make the overall efficiency of this offense better. If the Lions offense was the best offense in the entire NFL this season, I wouldn't be surprised. So still look for Sam Laporta to have some pretty healthy touchdown upside. I think that this dude is still going to explode. And so don't do anything with Sam Laporta right now. Don't try to sell him. Just keep him in your starting lineup. So my question, I have Joe Mixon. Start Texans. I must have missed you, FBU. I'm sorry about that. Would I pick up Akers? Absolutely not. The only player that I'm picking up with a former Achilles injury is J.K. motherfucking Dobbins. Of course, he's not on the waiver wire anyway, though. Thoughts on Calvin Ridley? I think that Calvin Ridley has a tremendously high weekly ceiling due to his ability to get open downfield and due to his, he has that big play ability. But he's not really getting a consistent enough target share yet for me to 100% say that I'm sending Calvin Ridley to the moon. I did have him going to the moon in my video yesterday, but I was thinking about it today, and I do want to see the target share for Calvin Ridley go up a little bit. Jameson is getting the feeding that, yeah, it's definitely happening. I just traded Jordan Mason and Singletary for Bijan and Rico. Was this a good trade? You traded Jordan Mason and Singletary for Bijan and Rico. Yeah, I would say that's a good trade. I do like Jordan Mason rest of the season, but Bijan is by far and away the best player in this trade, so I think you won there. Is Alvin Kamara a sell high? No, Jay Moore, I don't think that Alvin Kamara is a sell high. I think we're going to be holding on to Alvin Kamara, and we're going to be making sure that we just ride the wave with Alvin Kamara because this dude's going to be an absolute monster. Like I was saying earlier, he hasn't even seen his pass-catching ceiling yet. This is a dude who has the upside to come out and get 10 or 11 targets a freaking game out of the backfield. He hasn't even been doing this yet. He's been dominating solely with rushing efficiency and touchdowns. So if he starts to get the target share that he could really see out of the backfield and he's never coming off the field, this dude could be the running back 1 in fantasy. So we are not selling Alvin Kamara right now. Should I drop Eckler or Bigsby to pick up Allen or Steele? No, well, if you're really in need of a running back, yeah, you could do that to pick up Steele. I'm fine with that. Kamara or Gibbs rest of season? Oh man, that's a tough question, bro. You would ask me that one. That's a tough one, my man. Uh, mm, I'm gonna go with Alvin Kamara. And it's crazy that 2 weeks into the season, I'm already like changing my opinion because if you ask me that going, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you did get me. That's so incredibly tough because if you asked me that going into the season just 2 weeks ago, I would have actually laughed at the question and said that Gibbs is my for sure answer. But I'm so sold on Alvin Kamara right now. The usage right now looks like it's elite. They are not taking this dude off the field, whereas Gibbs is still technically in a split backfield. How long will Jordan Mason put up running back one numbers, and can he be a flex play for the rest of the season, even when CMC comes back? Yeah, I think he is a flex play when CMC comes back, but as long as CMC is out, he's going to continue to put up running back one numbers. If you look at this dude's been averaging over 5 yards per carry on a pretty healthy sample size. The dude's had 48 carries in the young season and is averaging over 5 yards a carry. I think the dude's absolute money. What's up with Jake Ferguson? Is he playing this week? I'm not 100% sure if Jake Ferguson is playing this week, to be honest with you, my man. I'm not sure. I haven't read up on that injury report. Is Kamara playing for a contract? I don't believe so. I just think that Alvin Kamara is an absolute freaking beast. And I think that he's going to continue to be a top 5 running back. Somebody asked me before week 1, when I did one of my first live streams I did on this channel, what my bold take was for the season. And I've got to say I've landed this so far. I said my number 1 bold take for the season is Alvin Kamara being a top 5 running back on the year. And right now, my man is the running back 1 in fantasy. Start Bowers or Laporta this week? That is a good question, Andre. Good to see you in the house, man. I'm still going to be starting Laporta. I mean, this is an elite player and an elite offense. I don't want to let 2 good weeks from Brock Bowers scare me away from playing Sam Laporta over Brock Bowers. Sam Laporta is still probably going to be the tight end 1 in fantasy. Should I roster 2 tight ends? Absolutely not. Should I trade Amari away for T. Higgins? Yeah, I'm fine with that trade. At the beginning of the season, I would have said it was a lateral move, but right now it looks like Amari Cooper might see his struggles this year. I think that him and T. Higgins are pretty much on an equal playing field. I value them very similarly rest of season, so it's really just up to your discretion, but you can go ahead and do that. I'm totally fine with it. Appreciate you guys coming in. If you haven't already, just know we're doing it live. We're doing our wide receiver and running back rankings on a live stream every single week this year. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel to get all my rankings, running back and wide receiver for every single week. But Brock's usage, though, drop DeMarcus or Yoshavash for Jalen Naylor. Absolutely not. We're going to be playing. I'm not gonna. Maybe Yoshavash, yeah, but don't drop DeMarcus Robinson. If you wanted to drop Yoshavash for Jalen Naylor, I understand that, but definitely don't drop DeMarcus Robinson. Achane or Kamara rest of season. I'm gonna be going with Achane on this. We keeping DeMarcus. Yeah, we definitely keeping DeMarcus for sure. That cup injury killed my 16-man team. Ooh, man, a cup injury in a deep league is absolutely brutal because obviously you had a player that could very well be the wide receiver 1 in all of fantasy, and you're in a 16-man league. That dude could single-handedly win a league for you, but Cooper Kupp, I don't think he's going to be out as long as people think. Obviously, they're saying now that he's going to be out for multiple weeks. It's potentially a high ankle sprain. Obviously, the injury is of some concern, but I don't think he misses more than 3 or 4 weeks at the absolute most, so know that he's at least coming back soon. How many touchdowns will Mahomes throw for this season? I think that Mahomes is going to be really good this year as far as throwing touchdowns. I think we're going to see somewhere between 36, 37, 38, somewhere between 36 and 38 touchdowns, passing touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes. Expect him to have a good season. Stuck starting Reed, Rice, and Worthy. That's really not necessarily that bad. I mean, in a 16-man league, that's really not that bad. I have Chargers defense. What stream defense should I change to? I am going to be doing a defensive streaming video this week, so I want to do a little bit more research on the defensive matchups before I give you a concrete answer to that question, R-Truth. So let me do a little bit more research on my defenses for the week before I put out my video, and make sure to catch that video because I will be doing a defensive streaming option video later in the week as we get closer to Sunday. 3 players you're selling high. Worthy or Neighbors rest of season? Neighbors. The target share is just too good. I mean, look, Malik Neighbors just had more targets in one game than Xavier Worthy might have through the first entire month of the season. So I'm going to be taking Neighbors, despite the fact that Xavier Worthy is who I probably would have told you Xavier Worthy last week. I'm not going to lie. I don't like changing my mind after just 1 week, but he sort of swayed my opinion. Raiders should be a top stream this week. Yeah, potentially. But again, I need to do more researches on the defense first. There's a reason why I don't put out my defensive streaming videos until later in the week, because I just like to do a lot more research before I determine a concrete answer on which defenses to stream, just because it's such a volatile position and it changes so quickly based on, what injuries certain players have and certain teams have and everything like that. Worthy big play dependent. Worthy is big play dependent. Neighbors too good. Tried to buy him in multiple leagues. Yeah, Neighbors is an absolute beast. I don't really like the offense that he's in, but if the dude continues to get that insane of a target share with his talent level, the dude could end up being a monster. Do I keep Josh Allen as my quarterback? What video is coming Wednesday? I can tell you this. I'm going to be doing my waiver wire video tomorrow. As far as Wednesday, I haven't figured out which video I'm going to do yet. I'm starting 0-2 in my money league, bro. Sorry about that, Andre. Look, it's early, though. It's very, very early. Things can still change and turn around for you. And, my man, I am rooting for you. Make sure to continue to tune in to my content, and I will help you as much as I possibly can to help you bounce back in your league. You know I'm rooting for you. Sneak peek, top waiver for wide receiver 3. I'm not going to be getting any sneak peeks to my top waiver decisions because I'm going to have to do that video tomorrow, and I don't want to give out any spoilers. Kirk and Higgins have me cooked, bro. Kirk and Higgins have me cooked. Yeah, sorry about that, man. Look, I was telling everyone to avoid Christian Kirk this offseason. Of course, I said that last year, and I was technically wrong on it because last year Christian Kirk had a pretty good season. But if Christian Kirk is biting you, I guess I wish you would have tuned into more of my preseason draft videos. But it's okay, man. How often do you go live and what time? On the East Coast. On the East Coast, man, that's somewhere I've been wanting to visit. It's one of the few parts of the United States that I haven't been to, is really the entire East Coast outside of Florida. But anyways, I have kind of a random live stream schedule, but I will tell you this. I will be live streaming every Sunday morning before the game. I will be live streaming every Thursday before the Thursday night football game. And I will be live streaming every Sunday to recap Sunday night football, or to recap the entire slate of Sunday games. And then other than that, my live streaming schedule is pretty random. Do I trade Amari Cooper? Should I trade Christian Kirk and Keon Coleman for him? Do I trade Amari Cooper? Should I trade Christian Kirk and Keon Coleman for him? Yes, I would trade Christian Kirk and Keon. Well, I don't know. That's absolutely tough. I think what you should try to do, my man, is to try to just trade one of these wide receivers for Amari Cooper, because Amari Cooper, right now, you can get him for a ham sandwich, bro. There's no reason to give up so much depth off your roster for a wide receiver who's done absolutely nothing for the first 2 weeks. Right now, you can get Amari Cooper for a ham sandwich. So offer a ham sandwich. Don't give up too much depth off your roster. I grabbed Kirk at value, but I see now why he was. yeah, you grabbed Kirk at value. Yeah. Pick up Braylon Allen, JSN, Shaheed, or Carson Steele. We're going to be picking up JSN, my man. The dude came out and had, 9,000 targets this past week. I think the JSN has some pretty extreme upside. Obviously, we like year 2 wide receivers with great prospect profiles because they typically break out in their second season. If I was Amari's owner, I would reject the trade, even though Coleman looks appealing. Yeah, if I was an Amari owner, I would reject the trade as well, but I think you should go ahead and try to shop those players, but only do one of them. Don't give up so much depth off your roster for a player who hasn't done anything so far. Appreciate you guys following on in. If you are new to the channel, we are live streaming every single week on Sunday mornings, Sunday nights. Most nights out of the week, we're going to be live streaming. I'm not going to lie. And we're going to be live streaming my running back and wide receiver rankings every single week. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that. I'm going to help you guys win leagues this year. I'm trading Shaheed for Amari, though. I like trading Shaheed for Amari. You're absolutely smashing that. I don't give a shit what happened in the first 2 weeks. If you trade Rashid Shaheed for Amari Cooper, you won that trade. I promise you. Neighbors truther here. Ever, you're a neighbors truther? You might be onto something, man. The dude had 9,000 targets this past week, man. Dude absolutely went off. I was telling Dirtbag them, what's up? We pick it up Carson Steele. This is what I've been telling people about Carson Steele. If you really need a running back, go ahead and pick him up, but only do so if you're really in need of like a flex play or something like that. I wouldn't get too incredibly excited for him. He is not a one-for-one replacement with Isaiah Pacheco. He's not going to produce the same way. They're not going to use him the same way they use Isaiah Pacheco. So I'm not that incredibly big on Carson Steele unless you really need a running back. Huge Neighbors and Rice fan, by the way. I love Neighbors and Rice. I especially love Rashee Rice being in the Chiefs offense. I will try to give up Christian Kirk for Amari Cooper if I can. Yeah, Reckons, do that. Try to just trade one of the players. I drafted Neighbors on UD late. White or Ramondre this week? Ramondre Stevenson. I'm going to tell you Ramondre Stevenson every week over Rachaad White just because he's so much better of a running back. Who should I trade for CeeDee Lamb? Joe Mixon, Neighbors, Zeke, Benson, Chase Brown, Evans, Garrett, Amari Hall. Who should I trade for CeeDee Lamb? Joe Mixon. I would trade Joe Mixon for CeeDee Lamb straight up if somebody would do it, but he's injured right now, so they're not going to. Neighbors, I would trade Neighbors straight up for CeeDee Lamb. Benson, Chase, Brown, Evans. All you can really do for CeeDee Lamb is try to trade Malik Neighbors off of the spike week straight up for CeeDee Lamb, but I don't think you're going to get a deal done with what you have on your roster. I don't think anybody's going to give up CeeDee Lamb for that. Red Rocket, make Deontay Johnson flex worthy. Andy Dalton, man. Andy freaking Dalton. Can he make Deontay Johnson flex worthy? I think it's certainly possible. I mean, obviously, you're going to have a huge upgrade from Bryce Young because no offense to anyone who's a Bryce Young fan, but there is no way in hell that the offense doesn't get some sort of spike from a quarterback change because it couldn't be any worse. So maybe. Nah, instant reject as CD's owner. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you're going to get CeeDee Lamb for any of those options. Do you have a favorite team? That is a good question, my man. Yes, I have a favorite team, and unfortunately, and this has been really hard on me throughout my life, but my favorite team is the Dallas Cowboys. Grew up a Cowboys fan, still am a Cowboys fan, and it absolutely sucks. Who's a Bryce Young fan other than the Panthers owner? Well, I will say this. The dude has a great name. I mean, other than that, the dude absolutely sucks at football. People were giving Marv away for a penny last week. Yeah, I was telling everyone to buy low on Marvin Harrison Jr., and I hope that everyone took my advice and bought low on Marvin Harrison Jr. because the dude is absolutely unattainable in the trade market right now. Jay Moore, do I like the NBA? Yes, Jay Moore, I do like the NBA. I love playing the nightly fantasy basketball on Underdog Fantasy. Now, I don't have the same NBA knowledge as I do as the NFL, but I do know a little bit about the NBA, and I do enjoy playing on Underdog, especially nightly fantasy basketball. So you were celebrating Kamara's touchdown or no? Yes, I was celebrating Kamara's touchdown because I have a good amount of Alvin Kamara on Underdog Fantasy. So due to my best ball exposure that I have to Alvin Kamara, I was celebrating Alvin Kamara's touchdowns, even though they were against the Cowboys, because as much as I love the Cowboys, I care more about winning $100,000 on Underdog than I do about the Cowboys winning. So, yes, I was celebrating the Kamara touchdowns. Where will Marvin Harrison Jr. finish in ranking this year? I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy, and you can't tell me that I'm just saying that because of the spike week we just saw, because I was telling everyone to buy low on Marvin Harrison Jr., and if you asked me going into the season if I thought that Marvin Harrison Jr. had a very good chance to be a top 5 overall wide receiver in fantasy, I would have said yes. Should I try to sell off Pickens and Kyren Williams off my squad? Let me know. I would hold on to Pickens. I don't think you could get all that much for him right now. I think that right now George Pickens is a lot more of a hold than he is a sell. And right now Kyren Williams is more of a hold than he is a sell. Right now you can't get what those players are worth right now. So, no, I would not be selling either of those players off my roster at the moment. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into my channel. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. I'm doing my running back and wide receiver rankings all season long via live stream, so you guys can interact with me in real time while I do my running back and wide receiver rankings. Thoughts on Ja'Marr Chase? I think he's overrated. I do not think Ja'Marr Chase is overrated. I think that Ja'Marr Chase is a league-winning fantasy asset. Now, here's what I tell people about Ja'Marr Chase. He's not quite the player you think he is, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean the fact that he is not a consistent floor player. He is a player that gives you a low to mid weekly floor and an astronomically high weekly ceiling. But he has so many of those weekly ceiling games that throughout the course of his season, he can win you 3 or 4 matchups single-handedly, and that is absolutely irreplaceable in fantasy. So given the inherent ceiling, I don't think that Ja'Marr Chase is an overrated fantasy asset. In fact, I think he's one of the most valuable wide receivers you can possibly have. He scored touchdowns in both games. Kyron will have more receiving. Oh, come on. Come on. You can't compare Ja'Marr Chase to Chris Olave, bro. That's not fair. Ja'Marr Chase is way better than Chris Olave. I'm 2-0 in one league, 0-2 in the other, shaking my head. They're straight to never draft Chase, but always buy him low. The strategy is to not – yeah, like for real, because like every single season, the Bengals start the season slow. You can buy low on Ja'Marr Chase like you should have done last year, and then eventually he breaks out, because I absolutely assure you that the breakout game is coming for Ja'Marr Chase. If you watch my buy low trade targets video that I put out earlier today, I had Ja'Marr Chase as one of my top 5 buy low trade targets. You've got to buy low on this dude while you have the chance. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're doing it live. Yeah, Ever, you're on to something, my man. Blow up the comment section, everybody. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. Super chat if you want to support the channel and if you want me to continue doing my live streams. But I'm answering all questions either way because I am here to help you guys win leagues. Appreciate you guys being in here. Wouldn't be the same without y'all. Keep asking your fantasy questions. How'd your best ball do this week? My best ball teams absolutely crushed this week. I have 203 teams that are in the typical tournament style, and right now I have 63 out of my 203 teams advancing, which is a damn near, like, I don't know, what, 40% advance rate? So I'm absolutely crushing it in best ball right now. I have Ken Walker and Left Charbonnet. LaRaza Del Baxio, 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex, Lamar, Baker, Bijan, Mason, London, Olave, Ayuk. Coleman, what can I do? You can maybe, I don't know, you can sell high on Drake London right now. That's what I would do. I would sell high on Drake London. He obviously had a little bit of a bounce back game, but I don't like Drake London rest of season. So I think that what we're going to be doing is we're going to be selling high on Drake London to maybe upgrade your running back position or maybe get a better wide receiver. Should I give up Josh Allen for Mahomes and something else? It depends on the something else. It very much depends on the something else. I wouldn't give up Josh Allen for Pat Mahomes straight up, even though I did have Pat Mahomes ranked as my number 1 fantasy quarterback coming into the season. I have flipped script, and I would rather have Josh Allen rest of season. So it totally depends on the something else that you're getting. Who would you trade for him? Who would I trade for who? Despite the good fantasy day for Charbo, he doesn't look as good as K9. Well, that's because Charbo isn't as good as K9. Kenneth Walker is one of the most elite running backs in the league. You still like Breece Hall over Bijan rest of season? Yes, I 100% like Breece Hall over Bijan rest of season. Who would you trade Drake London for? Anybody. What do you think about Ayuk without Debo? That was a joke, Andre. I'll get back to you in a second. What do you think about Ayuk without Debo? I think that Ayuk is inherently going to have a higher ceiling without Debo Samuel because, well, he's going to have to get targets now. I mean, what else is Brock Purdy going to do? But, yeah, you are onto something, Dirtbagum. Ayuk is overrated, but I think that just because of the target share, he's going to be fine. White London package. Those are 2 players that I don't like. Maybe try to buy low on either Jahmyr Gibbs or Jonathan Taylor. London for Olave, I think that's what you can get. I would trade Drake London for Chris Olave in the snap of a finger. What happened to Debo? I don't know. Apparently it's a ankle injury. Wait, I might be wrong on that. You guys hit us up in the chat. Anybody that knows details on the Debo Samuel injury, let us know in the chat. Or buy low on Debo since he's injured. It totally depends how long he's going to be out for. I think we need some clarification on how long Debo Samuel is going to be out before we make any decisions like that. What do you think are realistic trade packages for Keon, Christian Kirk, Palmer in return? Who's the wide receiver 1 for the Rams? Wide receiver 1 for the Rams is going to be Demarcus Robinson for sure. I was telling people to draft Demarcus Robinson going into the season, but it's starting to look like, hey, Bryce, would you trade London for Kirk? Just kidding. If I had to have either of those players on my fantasy team, I would probably just quit for the season. How do you feel about DK Metcalf moving forward? I like DK Metcalf. I think that he is a little bit overhyped from a fantasy perspective. I think that for the rest of the season, you can look at DK Metcalf as a mid to low-end wide receiver 2. And I think that JSN is the best value in this offense, given the draft value, given the fact that you were able to get him later, and given the fact that you can Yeah, JSN Truther. Heck yeah. Yeah, I like JSN rest of the season. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And let's blow up this comment section, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. How we doing this afternoon, this evening, tonight, this morning, whatever the hell it is. Ask away with your fantasy football questions. DK is boomer bust, in my opinion. DK is very boomer bust. White and London for Jamar. Oh, my God. Andre, if you could trade White and London for Jamar Chase, you need to do it immediately. Tons of JSN shares, printed money yesterday. Good job. Good job, Ever. JSN, I wish I could say that I had a lot of JSN shares, but I really don't. I don't have a whole lot of JSN shares right now. I just didn't draft that much of them this season. I kind of wish I did. Over Jamar Chase? Oh, no. Jamar Chase over Garrett Wilson by 1.5 miles. Should I pick up Derek Carr? He's quarterback 2. Anthony Richardson, 1 leagues, Mahomes the other, and they stinking up the joint. There is absolutely no way in hell that I would recommend that you play Derek Carr over Pat Mahomes or Anthony Richardson. I dropped him in the 8-teamer. Don't grab him, Bryce. I might grab him just to make a joke. We'll see. Depends what kind of mood I'm in. How do you feel about Najee Harris? Bad offense and not a very efficient back. I have never been big on Najee Harris. If you look at Najee Harris, this is one of the least efficient running backs since coming into the league. He's playing in an absolutely terrible offense. He is overhyped going into every single season, and I do not like Najee Harris. LaRaza Del Boxio. London went against Slay, a great cornerback. Kirk is just coming back from the injury. New team is going to get better for London. I don't think it's going to get better for London, but I hope you're right, my man. Just for the sake of the fantasy football community and any Drake London owners, I am not big on him rest of season, but if he bounces back, then you could say I told you so. Do slot wide receivers get peppered the most? Typically, slot wide receivers, yes, do receive more targets than any other wide receiver on the field. Realistic returns, I can ask for Keon. Kelsey target increase coming since Pacheco is injured now. Yeah, I think so. I mean, Pacheco is obviously eating up a pretty significant target share out of the backfield, and so I think that Kelsey will see at least an extra target or 2 a game with Pacheco out. Realistic returns, I can ask for Keon, Christian, Kirk, Palmer. I want to get a return, but I don't want to disrespect people with my offer because these wide receivers are scrap worthy. Look, don't be afraid to disrespect people in your fantasy league. It's just part of the game. You're trying to get values with your trades. There's nothing wrong with it. Who do you think will be the tight end overall, 1 overall this season? I think it's going to be Mr. Trey McBride, tight end 1 overall this season. Yeah, Trey McBride. I mean, if you look at the underlying usage, this dude has had so many targets in his offense over the past or over the first 2 weeks of the season. So I'm loving Trey McBride from a season-long standpoint, and I like him going forward for the rest of the year. All right, guys, if you haven't liked the video already, make sure to like the video. I am going to be doing these live streams all season long, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more content from Crushing Fantasy Football. We're going to be winning leagues here this year. Cam Akers season? Absolutely not, my friend. Not Cam Akers season. I wish I had more on McBride, drafted Kincaid instead. Yeah, I mean, look, it's still very early. I wouldn't be surprised if Dalton Kincaid had a better season than McBride. You know, he asked me who I think is going to be the tight end 1. Trey McBride. But if Dalton Kincaid came out and had a better season than McBride, I wouldn't be all that surprised. Do I trade Kelsey, Ridley for McBride and Dobbs? Absolutely not. No way. I really like seeing McBride still get lots of targets, even though MHA had a good day too. Nice to see them both be productive. Yeah, I think they can both be productive in this offense. No. Don't trade Kelsey and Ridley for McBride and Dobbs. I would absolutely not do that. I still think that Kelsey's going to bounce back, and Ridley is an upgrade from Dobbs, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, if you like Trey McBride that much. I love Trey McBride. Like I said, I think he's going to be the tight end 1, but I have no way am I making that trade. I still think that Kelsey will be a top 5 tight end, and Ridley is a massive upgrade over Romeo Dobbs. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Keep blowing up the chat. Let's keep this rolling. McBride, man, his usage is crazy in PPR. Yeah, McBride's usage is crazy in PPR. He's probably going to be the tight end 1 this year, but I'm still not making the Travis Kelce trade. Not with Calvin Ridley involved. I just don't want to get rid of Calvin Ridley for Romeo Dobbs. All right, y'all, it's getting pretty late. I'm probably going to get on out of here. But I appreciate you guys tuning into the live stream, and I'm going to be continuing to live stream all season long. Make sure to catch my waiver wire video tomorrow, and appreciate you guys very much. It's been a blast, and I will catch you later.